We're 1 week closer to the fantasy football season here in 2018, and one of the toughest questions you'll face come draft time is, who should I take in the first round? Here's my top 12 picks for the year. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Jake, Fantasy Headliners, coming at you again this week. But this week we're going to be talking about who my top 12 overall players are. I mean, let's be real. Fantasy drafts, we can sit here and we can mock them all day long. We could do 14,000 mock drafts, and I'm sure some of you out there are. But let's be real with each other. You can mock draft all you want to, but there's always those guys in every league who take people way earlier than they should, and it messes up your whole draft strategy. To me, the most important pick you're going to make in the entire draft, even though the ones in the later rounds are important, but it's your first round pick. It's really one of the only picks you can control. And even though it's not all in your control, if you have a good idea which way you want to go, you can set your whole team up for the whole season. So these are my top 12 picks for my overall rankings for this year's upcoming 2018 fantasy football draft. Let's get right into the list. I debated starting at 1 and I debated starting at 12. But you know what? I'm going to leave a little bit of anticipation out there, so we're going to start at number 12. So for me, number 12 is going to be Quan Barkley, running back for the New York Giants. And I know it seems kind of cliche to pick him because lots of people are putting him in their top 10, top 12. I agree, but the facts are the facts. I mean, the kid's going into an opportunity where he's going to get a ton of touches. They did just sign Jonathan Stewart, but it's Jonathan Stewart. I mean, really? Don't worry about Jonathan Stewart. Quan Barkley's used to a big workload. He was getting almost 300 touches the last 2 years here at Penn State, and he's going to probably get close to that again. I mean, he's going to see the workload. They have Odell Beckham, Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram in the pass game, and they kind of improved their offensive line here in the offseason. They picked up Nate Solder from the Patriots, and they drafted Will Hernandez, the human Tonka truck. Don't be surprised if those holes are opened up all over the left side for Quan Barkley, and he runs wherever he wants to. Not every week, but he's going to have a decent season. And there's not too many running backs out there that are going to see 300 touches. So, if you can get 300 touches in the first round, you take it. Quan Barkley was fringe top 12 to me, but the kid's got enough talent and enough upside, so I put him at 12. All right, keep the theme of going backwards, going to number 11. And that's Julio Jones. Somebody who's probably been in the top 6 the past few years. I got him all the way down at 11th. And I don't know how I feel about it. I kind of want to have him higher. I kind of feel like he needs to be higher. But last year happened. And some people haven't forgot about it. But this is where I'm confused. Everybody was down on Julio last year because he had a off year. The dude had 1,400 yards again. He's had over 1,400 yards for 4 years straight. The only thing that was missing last year are the touchdowns. But touchdowns are unpredictable. You can't predict that, Julio's going to get 8 this year. You don't know. None of us know. If I had the Back to the Future DeLorean and I could go back and find the sports almanac, I would try to find out for you guys. But I can't. So touchdowns are kind of a shot in the dark. You can't bank on touchdowns. The guy is getting the opportunity. 1,400 yards a year is pretty good. Last time I checked, he sees a ton of targets. And now they drafted Calvin Ridley. Take a little bit of that pressure off him. Whether Ridley goes in the slot or he plays on the opposite of Julio on the outside, we don't know yet. Wherever he goes, he's going to demand some attention. And if he's demanding attention, that means Julio has less attention. Now, they're not going to totally take the attention off of Julio because, let's be realistic, it's Julio Jones. But if Julio has the same year that he's been having for the past couple years and even adds in 3 more touchdowns, you're still looking at a top-tier wide receiver. Do I think he needs to be a little bit higher? Possibly. But for right now, I'm more than safe having him at number 11 in my rankings. Number 10 is going to be Melvin Gordon, running back out there in Los Angeles now with the Chargers. And I like Melvin Gordon. I actually like Melvin Gordon more this year than I have in years past. He's not going to go out there and get you the huge 13, 14, 1,500 yards rushing. but he's pretty close to the workhorse back. He has had some injury concerns in the past, but they did just pick up Mike Pouncey in the offseason from the Miami Dolphins. So that's going to shore up their offensive line there in the middle, and they get Forrest Lamp back. So that offensive line is going to be improved from what it was last year. You got another back getting close to 250 to 275 carries. Plus, over the last 2 years, he's had an average of 50 receptions a game. That's pretty good. Plus, he has the goal line work. Now, there are other running backs on the roster, but none of them are, going to take the carries from Melvin unless an injury occurs. But we can't predict injuries, just like we can't predict touchdowns. So, start of the season, Melvin Gordon is a great option, especially with that improved offensive line. And you got Phillip Rivers. The dude's going to throw it. He's got tons of weapons on the outside. He's got Keenan Allen. Mike Williams coming back hopefully healthy this year. Tyrell Williams. Hunter Henry. The emergence of Hunter Henry. This is the year of Hunter Henry. Okay? So they've got weapons on the outside. That's going to pull a few of these defenders out of the box, giving Melvin Gordon more opportunities to bust a big one through a hole. So look for Melvin Gordon to have a great year. If he can stay healthy, top 10, no doubt. Number 9 on my list is going to be Leonard Fournette. I don't know if I can call him the man-child or the Abe Lincoln, whatever. I mean, he's got a man beard. All right, total man beard. Dude is a stud. I mean, he's not looking to break, be shifty through a hole and break a big run. He's looking to run through your face. And there's not a whole lot you can do to scheme against that. I mean, what do you tell your defense? I mean, it doesn't matter which gap they fill, he's going to run through you over and over and over. The dude is a beast. And last year, he stayed healthy. Coming into last season, we kind of had our concerns if he was going to be able to hold up to a whole NFL season. And he did pretty good. I mean, he did great. Great year for Leonard Fournette. And there's no reason not to expect the same thing again. The offense didn't change a whole lot. They did get DJ Chark and Dante Moncrief on the outside, and that's to replace Allen Hurns and Allen Robinson. I like DJ Chark a lot if you've been watching this channel, and Dante Moncrief I really don't care about. But they do have a few decent wide receivers on the outside. Keep the defense honest, but like I said, it doesn't matter. Fournette's going to run through you. He's got all the goal line opportunities. Chris Ivory's no longer in town to steal touchdowns. Sign me up for Leonard Fournette all year long. I got him at number 9. Number 8 on my list is going to be DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver out in Houston. And we kind of had a glimpse of what he did last year with Deshaun Watson. They didn't play too much together, but they averaged just under 100 yards and a touchdown a game. That's pretty good. And they only played together for like 5 weeks. Like, they barely know each other. They just passed each other in the locker room one day and nodded their head, and next thing you know, they played together for a few weeks and looked great. They've had a whole off season to get to know each other, get the chemistry in order, and that could be kind of scary because DeAndre Hopkins had one of the best years a wide receiver's had in a long time, and he did the majority of it with Tom Savage. That's just like, oof. But look what he did. Deshaun Watson is a huge upgrade over Tom Savage. Not Tom Savage. However, I don't think Tom Savage would be much worse than Tom Savage. So we're going to stick with Tom Savage. But going back to DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, you look at somebody with double-digit touchdown upside. I mean, the dude is targeted heavily. The only other options they really have in the passing game are Will Fuller, which I do like Will Fuller. But he's not going to, overtake DeAndre Hopkins. And that defense is much improved. The only thing that I don't like about DeAndre Hopkins this year is with that improved defense. If they're, ahead in the second half, they're not being forced to throw as much. They may lean a little bit more on the run game this year than in years past. However, if the run game is ineffective like it's been in years past, DeAndre Hopkins is going to continue to eat in the second half of ball games. That's why I got him ranked number 8 overall on my list. Going to number 7, it's going to be Antonio Brown. I'm sure a few of you just said, did he say number 7, Antonio Brown? Yes, I did. I got him a little lower than a lot of other people. Most people have him inside the top 5, right there when those big 4 running backs go off the board. But for me, I'm sticking at number 7. I'll be honest. I have a little bit of a bias because I'm not a huge Steelers fan. I get it, but I try to put that aside when I do these type of rankings because I know everybody's a fan of somebody. Everybody likes some. Everybody has their own team somewhere. And don't get me wrong, Antonio Brown is arguably the best receiver that the game has seen, maybe ever. Maybe. I mean, it's debatable. The dude is off the charts talented-wise, but the new offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh, which I know isn't a huge deal. The guy's still been in Pittsburgh forever. But it's just a new offense. It's going to be different. And plus, there's drama all over Pittsburgh. Big Ben talking about how much he doesn't like they drafted a rookie quarterback in the draft and wish they could have got some help for now. And I mean, there's just some bad things going on. I almost said some bad juju. But there's some good juju there, which is another reason why Antonio Brown is a little bit lower, because I do expect Juju to take another step forward. So that takes a little bit away from Antonio Brown. But overall, the Pittsburgh Steelers, to me, they just kind of scare me a little bit. I kind of can see things falling apart in Pittsburgh. And if it falls apart in Pittsburgh, it's going to be ugly. It just seems like between Antonio Brown putting things on social media in the locker rooms, and I mean, it's just weird stuff. And I don't want any of that headache in my top 5. So, I can't say my top 5 because I may have somebody in the top 5 later. But, you know what I mean. With the new offensive coordinator, the drama going around Big Ben, if something happens to Big Ben and they're forced to use Mason Rudolph, not overly high on Mason Rudolph. I think his wide receivers in college made him look a lot better than he really was. Not that he's not talented, but he's not Big Ben. And it just scares me a little bit. I can't put AB up there at the top like I used to, but he's still number 7 overall. And that's pretty dang good. I'm pretty sure there's only one wide receiver I have above him. And you probably know who it is just by process of elimination. But Antonio Brown's going to have a great year. It just worries me with the drama in Pittsburgh. So I'm going to keep it number 7. Okay, we're going to number 6 now. So we're fringe top 5 area. And I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara. A little higher than he has been in a lot of rankings here lately. But, the news just came out with Mark Ingram. He's going to miss 4 games. And 4 games of a fantasy season is a lot more than 4 games of a regular NFL season. I mean, that's 4 weeks of no production for Ingram, which means 4 weeks of extra production for Kamara. And that's great, especially if you're a Kamara owner or you can get Kamara in your upcoming draft. The amount of touches this kid should get in the first 4 weeks of this season is staggering, to say the least. Plus, hear me out. I mean, I know this may upset a few of you guys, but hear me out. Kamara's value is like off the charts high. So if you're in a dynasty league and you own Kamara, I would consider seeing what offers you get for him because you're never going to get more than you can right now. And I get it. You found somebody that you like and you want to hold on to him, and I can't blame you for it. But if this is an upcoming draft for you and you have Kamara sitting there, by all means in redraft leagues, Kamara is a huge asset. I mean, the kid's going to get all kinds of work in the passing game. PPR leagues, he may even be higher than number 6 overall. If I'm basing these off of half-point PPR, but you can't really do a whole lot with Alvin Kamara if you're an opposing defense. You can't really scheme against him. He can catch passes out of the backfield. He can catch passes from the slot. He can run between the tackles. I mean, he can do all kinds of things. And Sean Payton is a genius in New Orleans, and they know exactly how to use him. They've been doing it in New Orleans with pass-catching backs back from the Darren Sproles and Reggie Bush days. I mean, they know how to use these style backs, and they're going to continue to use them. He'll be highly involved in the team's offense, especially the first 4 weeks. I look for Kamara to have a huge year, and he's going to be number 6 on my top 12 overall list. All right, number 5 on my list is going to be Odell Beckham Jr. And for some reason, I always want to call him ODB. I don't know why I always want to say ODB. Is anybody out there, any old school rap listeners, know what I'm talking about? What's ODB? I can't say it on here, but I'm sure you can. But let's go back to Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ. How does that sound? I got him as number 5 overall. And that's a little high compared to some, but I've got my reasons. He's got the 4th easiest strength of schedule for the upcoming season. That's a plus. We've already talked about Quan Barkley in the backfield. If they can establish any type of run game in New York, that's going to help take some of the pressure off of Odell Beckham. They got to put more people in the box, less people following Odell Beckham. He's averaged 10 targets a game for every game in his NFL career. And there's not too many wide receivers that can say that. Plus, he's going to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Anybody who saw the NFL.com's top 100 list that came out here, he was ranked like 77th on it. That's going to piss him off. And all you need is an Odell Beckham with a chip on his shoulder, trying to prove that he is still what he was, with an improved run game. He still doesn't have any big-name wide receiver to take away targets, as much as I like Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram. Odell Beckham's primed to have a huge year. I mean, he's capable of 1,400-plus yards and double-digit touchdowns. To me, that's top 5 potential all day long, so I'm going to keep him at number 5. Number 4 on my list is going to be LeVeon Bell. Another guy I'm a little bit lower on. And why, you ask? Let me tell you. He would be number 1 overall to me. Let me be honest. I would have him number 1 if it wasn't for all the stupid contract issues that we have to worry about every single year with Le'Veon Bell. I know he's already come out and said he's playing in 2018. I get it. But when he shows up, when he practices, whatever he wants, I don't like all that drama. I mean, I get it. The dude's got potential all over the place, but he's also got, issues off the field and past injury concerns. I like Le'Veon Bell. He would by far be number 1 on this list if he didn't have to worry about all the drama. And I know drama doesn't really matter in fantasy football. It's all about production. But depending if he holds out for OTAs or whether he shows up in the preseason or whatever he wants to do, look what happened last year. He started the season a little bit slow. You kind of didn't get the production out of him the first few weeks like you were hoping. Could the same thing happen again? It could. They do have a new offensive coordinator there, like I talked before. He's the former quarterback coach. Randy Fitchner is his name. But Randy Fitchner hasn't been an offensive coordinator since 2004 at the University of Memphis, where they ran the spread offense. Something doesn't match up, because I don't see Pittsburgh running no form of the spread offense with Big Ben under center. I like Le'Veon Bell, and he's still inside the top 5, but I don't want to deal with the headache if I don't have to. If the other 3 backs are off the board, by far he's the next best option. But for me, he's going to stay at number 4. Moving into the top 3. Number 3, I got David Johnson, running back in Arizona. And I hear a lot of people worried about David Johnson this year, and I just don't understand why. Everybody says, he doesn't have an offensive line to run behind, and he's coming off of an injury, and there's not a whole lot of options in Arizona. He ran behind the 26th overall rated offensive line in 2016 and had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage. That's like a horrible offensive line, and he produced just fine. So what's the difference now? I actually think they have a few more weapons now than they had then. I know they just drafted Josh Rosen. Sounds like Sam Bradford may start off the season, but like I've said in the past, come week 2, I fear for his life, and he may not make it past the Rams game, which leads to Josh Rosen. Either way, they're upgrades from what David Johnson had in the past. The offensive line isn't any worse than it was. It's not a whole lot better, but it's not any worse. They got Christian Kirk in the draft also. Gives Larry Fitzgerald a little bit of help on the outside. And Christian Kirk is going to be special. I mean, this kid has some scary talent. Go watch a few videos if you haven't watched anything of Christian Kirk. Some of his A&M highlight reels kind of compared to Odell Beckham a little bit. Like, if you don't pay attention to the jersey he's wearing and just put a Giants jersey on it, it looks like Odell Beckham out there every once in a while. The kid is special in Arizona. I don't know why I told you all that. Kind of threw it in there for no apparent reason. But anyway, the whole purpose of it was that they're not going to be able to just stack the box against David Johnson. They have options on the outside to throw it to in Arizona, and David Johnson doesn't care if you stack the box anyway. Another guy you can't really game plan against. He's kind of like Alvin Kamara with more power, I guess you could say. I mean, I know he's coming off of an injury, but it's a wrist injury. His wheels are fine, knees are good, ankles are good, feet are good. He's got no issues with that. He's got two hands to hold on to the ball and a fully healed wrist. I mean, the dude is an absolute monster. He's going to catch close to 80 passes, get close to 1,200 to 1,400 yards rushing, probably close to about 800 yards receiving this year, double-digit touchdowns, slam dunk, top 5 pick, no doubt. I got him at number 3. All right, top 2 time. Number 2 overall, I got Ezekiel Elliott in Dallas. I'm a little high on Zeke this year, probably higher than some. I know people have David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell ranked ahead Zeke in a lot of rankings, and there's arguments for each side, but Zeke's averaged 125 yards from scrimmage and at least a touchdown for every game in his career. That's pretty consistent, pretty solid. He's got the 300 carry potential. He's got one of the best offensive lines in football. He's an underrated pass catcher, and they got a decent pass offense in Dallas. People kind of writing it off because Dez Bryant isn't in town. Well, Allen Hurns, Michael Gallup, Cole Beasley doesn't sound sexy, but they can produce. They can produce quite a bit in Dallas. You guys may be caught off guard a little bit by that, and Zeke's going to be the one benefiting from it. Rod Smith is in the backfield, but he's not going to take away from Zeke. He may give Zeke a breather now and then, but Zeke's still going to get his touches, which are going to be a huge number of touches. I mean, he's had games in the past of getting 30-some carries a game. That's exactly what you want in fantasy football because they can't score you points if they're not getting touches. Zeke's going to get the touches. That's why I got him at number 2. All right, number 1 on my list is going to be Todd Gurley. Process of elimination, you guys probably figured that out by now. But I'm going with Gurley at number 1. It's one of the best offenses in football. Nobody can argue that. They've got a great defense, which is going to prevent teams from scoring against them. So if they get a lead, they're just going to run the ball in the second half. And who's going to benefit from that? Todd Gurley. There's nobody really there to take away carries from him. He's a 3-down back, catch passes out of the backfield. Last year, 13 out of the 16 NFL games, he finished as a top 10 running back. Those are great numbers, great production. And you can pretty much count on it week to week. Kind of like Zeke. He's going to get the opportunity for all the goal line touches. He's going to get close to 300 carries a game. He's going to catch you close to 50 balls. I mean, yeah. A couple years ago, we'd written off Todd Gurley. Remember? Yeah, we're not writing off Todd Gurley no more. What you saw last year, probably going to happen again this year. That's why I'm going to keep Todd Gurley as my number 1 rated player here for the 2018 fantasy football season here preseason. All right, so that was my top 12 overall players here for the upcoming fantasy football season. It could change between now and the season. I get it. It's still a little bit early. But as it changes, I'll just remake videos. I kind of got to have things to talk about anyway. I do want to say this, though. If you disagree with anybody that I have there, let me know. Hit me up with a comment down below. Don't just hit the thumbs down and just say I don't agree with something. Tell me what it is. Let's debate it. Let's talk about it. If you guys have, a debate as to why somebody should be higher, I'm all for listening to it. I have no problem going back and forth. I look forward to talking to you guys. I really appreciate the support, though. Make sure you guys are liking, commenting, subscribing, hitting me up down below, and we're getting close. We're 1 week closer to the fantasy football season. Looking forward to talking to you guys. We'll talk to you later. Thanks.